Boston, 1723. A 17-year-old boy stands at the harbor, watching the ships rock against the dock. He's got no money, no connections, and no permission to leave. His older brother, his legal master, has made it clear, if Benjamin tries to run, every printer in town will be warned. No one will hire him, no one will help him. But Benjamin Franklin boards that ship anyway. What drives a teenager to risk everything, to become a fugitive from his own family? And how does a runaway apprentice with nothing but a few coins in his pocket become the man who helps birth a notion? This is his untold story. Welcome to the Untold Spirit. Benjamin Franklin wasn't born into wealth or power. He was the 15th of 17 children, born in 1706 to a candlemaker in Boston. His father couldn't afford to send him to school beyond the age of 10. By 12, Benjamin was legally bound as an apprentice to his older brother James, who ran a printing shop. This wasn't a partnership, it was servitude. James owned Benjamin's labor until he turned 21. 9 years of obedience, of setting type and running errands, of watching his brother take credit for everything. But Benjamin had something his brother didn't, an insatiable hunger to learn. He read everything he could find. He taught himself to write by copying essays from borrowed magazines, then rewriting them from memory. He debated with himself on paper, sharpening his arguments until they cut like razors. When James started publishing a newspaper, the New England Courant, Benjamin saw his chance. He began writing anonymous letters under the pen name Silence Dogood, a fictional widow with sharp opinions about Boston society. The letters were witty, bold, and wildly popular. Readers loved them. James loved them, until he found out his little brother was the author. James was furious. The apprentice had outshone the master. The beatings got worse. The resentment deepened. And when James was briefly jailed for offending the colonial authorities, he made Benjamin the official publisher to keep the paper running, but only on paper. In private, nothing changed. Benjamin was still a servant. That's when Benjamin made his decision. He would run. Running away wasn't just rebellion, it was illegal. Breaking an apprenticeship contract could land you in jail or worse, and James made sure of it. He quietly spread the word to every printer in Boston, "Don't hire my brother." So Benjamin couldn't stay in Boston. He sold some of his books to buy passage on a ship to New York. He arrived with almost nothing, hungry and exhausted, only to find there was no work for him there either. Picture this, a teenage boy, alone in a strange city, with no family, no references, and no future. Most people would have turned back. Most people would have begged for forgiveness. Benjamin kept walking. He walked 50 miles to Philadelphia. He arrived filthy, broke, and starving. He spent his last coins on 3 large rolls of bread and walked through the streets eating them, looking like a fool. A young woman named Deborah Reed saw him from her doorway and laughed. He didn't know it yet, but she would become his wife. Philadelphia was different. It was newer, looser, less rigid than Boston. And Benjamin found work with a printer named Samuel Kamer. He was good, better than good. Within months, he'd impressed the governor of Pennsylvania himself, who promised to set him up with his own print shop if Benjamin traveled to London to buy equipment. It was a lie. The governor never sent the promised letters of credit. Benjamin arrived in London at 18, stranded again, with no money and no way home. But here's the thing about Franklin. He didn't break. He worked. He learned. He spent 2 years in London's print shops, mastering the trade, studying the city,
absorbing everything. He saved every penny, and when he finally returned to Philadelphia, he wasn't the same runaway boy. He was ready to build something. By his mid-20s, Franklin had his own print shop. He published his own newspaper, the Pennsylvania Gazette, and turned it into the most successful paper in the colonies. He created Poor Richard's Almanac, filled with proverbs and wit that made him famous across America. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. People quoted him without knowing his name. But Franklin didn't stop at printing. He couldn't. His mind was too restless. He taught himself science and conducted experiments with electricity that stunned the world. He invented the lightning rod, bifocals, the Franklin stove. He founded libraries, fire departments, hospitals, and universities. He mapped the Gulf Stream. He became a diplomat, a statesman, a philosopher. And when the American colonies stood on the edge of revolution, it was Franklin, the runaway apprentice, the self-made man, who helped draft the Declaration of Independence. It was Franklin who sailed to France and convinced a king to support a rebellion. It was Franklin who sat in that room in Philadelphia in 1787 and helped write the Constitution. He was 81 years old, suffering from gout, barely able to walk, but he was there. And when the other delegates argued and threatened to walk away, it was Franklin who urged them to compromise, to sign, to trust in something bigger than themselves. He died 3 years later, in 1790. 20,000 people attended his funeral, the largest in American history at the time. France mourned him. Europe mourned him. He was celebrated as one of the greatest minds of the age. But here's what often gets forgotten. None of it was supposed to happen. He was supposed to stay in Boston, obey his brother, live a small life, and disappear into history. He refused. We remember Benjamin Franklin as a founding father, as the face on the $100 bill, as the man who flew a kite in a thunderstorm, but we forget the boy who ran away. We forget the years of hunger, rejection, and failure. We forget that he built himself from nothing, with no safety net, no privilege, and no guarantee of success. Franklin's story isn't just about genius, it's about defiance. It's about refusing to accept the life others chose for you. It's about the courage to walk 50 miles into the unknown because staying put would mean dying slowly. And maybe that's the real untold spirit here, that greatness doesn't require permission. It requires persistence. It requires the willingness to fail, to be laughed at, to start over, and to keep moving forward anyway. Franklin didn't wait for the world to recognize him. He made the world notice. And in doing so, he didn't just shape a nation. He proved that anyone, no matter where they start, can rewrite their own story.